Hello everyone, I'm Tyre. Welcome back to another episode of Wiser Biker. And in this episode, I want to show you something that is very useful, at least it served me very well, and that is the lazy way to do a maintenance to your bicycles. Okay, and for me, I have this bicycle that I use to commute to work and back home every day. And the distance that I cover every day is about 8 to 9 kilometers. So in a year, I would say I will cover almost like a 2,500 to 3,000 kilometers, okay, a year. And I have been riding on this bike for 2 years without doing any major maintenance. Okay, so I'm going to teach you what are the tricks, a little bit things that I do here and there to make this bike my slave. Okay, what I mean by my slave, okay, this slave bike, I spend the minimum amount of money, effort and time and to squeeze every bit of value, every bit of performance, every bit of durability out of it. Okay, so you ready? The first thing that I want you to remember that a bicycle, the most important thing actually are the tires. Okay, the tires are the things that actually carries your bike. So if you have a good tire pressure, you have a tire that is done to the optimized pressure, is actually able to prolong the lifespan of your tires, and it won't give you punctured easily. In my 2 years of usage of this bike, I have never experienced any punctured before. Okay, so ready, I'm going to show you what is the first thing that you need to keep a lookout for. Okay, so I've got a tire here, and for tire, I like to use this term of hard tire or soft tires. Okay, what are actually hard tires? Means that the tire is very pumped up to a very high pressure. Okay, and so hard that you can feel it's actually very stiff. And soft tires means that it's a little bit deflated, little bit not up to the pressure that is optimized. So when you ride on it, you feel that it's very soft, you feel that it's very draggy. Okay, why do soft tires give you more drag and less comfort on the road? It's because of the contact area that the tire have with the ground. Okay, with a soft tire, that means there will be more surface area contact with the tire and the road. So which means the energy that you're spending in to ride your bike, actually a lot of them went to the friction, to become friction and overcoming friction onto the ground with the floor. So you lose your velocity to friction. Okay, and we don't want that. So which is why you should keep your tire pressure at a very optimum level so that the tires are neither too soft or too hard, and it gives you a very comfortable and easy ride onto the road. And how to do that? First of all, a lot of people ask me, a lot of customers ask me that they don't know how much pressure that they should inflate into the tire. Actually, there are markings on the tire itself. Different tires have different pressure guidelines, so you actually can check on the marking, the tire markings, to check what is the pressure optimum. For this one that I have is a normal CST tire that you can get from most of the local stores. They have the guide that is right here. And for this PSI, okay, most of us will actually use a PSI or the BAR, okay, when you go to a petrol station. And so for this one is 35 to 45 PSI. So there is a lower limit and an upper limit. So I always recommend my customers that if you are not sure whether you want to put it to 35 or 45, try 35 first. Okay, try to go to the lower limit, pump it up to 35 and try to sit on it to see how it goes. If you're light enough, your bike is light enough, maybe 35 is already enough and good sufficient pressure. Okay, otherwise pump it, increase it for about 5 psi or 10 is, slowly increase the PSI, give it a few more pumps, just that so that until you reach the optimized one. Okay, so how to pump it? We'll do a close. I will show you in a close-up version. Come, say okay. I use if you have this at home, that will be very helpful. It is actually an air pump that comes with a pressure gauge. Okay, so for this we can set the pressure gauge to the level that you want. Say we want to pump to 35 psi, so I'll just set it to 35 psi first. So once the arrow reaches there, we know that it's reached. So some people go to the petrol station to do it. Yes, you can, but I don't like, personally I don't like to go to the petrol station because their pumps are actually very, I don't know, it just don't work so well to me. Okay, so I have it here. Now it's about 20 psi, so every pump I get, it goes a little bit. Okay, you see, I just put it like 3 times, 4 times, it already reached 30. A few more pumps when I am at 35. One more. Okay, now I'm at 35. Okay, usually for me, I like to press the tire. This is my natural pressure gauge, you know, so I like to use this. I press like thousands and thousands of tires, you know, in my everyday work, so I actually roughly know how 35 feels. And this one, for me, 35 feels just right because I am a little bit over 60 kg. Okay, and it works well for me. Okay, if you want, you can go a little bit more. I will just stop at 40. Okay, here you go. I removed it. I'll do so for the rear as well. Before I show you how do I physically check whether it's going to be comfortable for me. Okay, here you go. Pump it again. I'll just I'll give it to 40. Straight away, I'm gonna give it to 40 psi. Right. Yep, just the same feeling that I get from the front. Done. Right, so for me, after pumping it, I will just sit onto the bike. I'll just sit onto the bike and see how the tires feels. It's a little bit hard to balance without riding. Okay, so when I sit onto the bike, it has my whole body pressure and the bike weight itself, and you look at the tire itself, it doesn't actually have much of a depression. Okay, it doesn't compress too much, which means the pressure is good and it's able to carry me and carry the whole bike together. That's good. But if you sit on it and you realize that the tire actually goes down like quite a lot, it becomes flat, it's still flat, it's still soft, then you may want to go and pump it again, add another 5 psi or something, you know, just to slowly increase it until it gets the level of comfort that it gives you. Okay, for me this is just perfect. Right, so this is about tire. Oh, another thing I want you to take note about tire is that you want to check the tire treads, the treadings, just to see that it is still usable, it's not so worn out, because the important thing is that this tread is going to give you the grip and to prevent you from skidding on a rainy day or on roads that has a lot of sand, a lot of dust. Okay, so you want your tires to have at least some tread. For my mountain bike type, okay, so have some treadings to keep your friction enough to prevent you from sliding and skidding. Okay, another trick I want you to do is that you have a flat tire. When you have a flat tire, keep it less pump, squeeze the tires. You can squeeze it just physically on your tire on the bike itself. Just squeeze and check, is there any cracks on the sides or in front. Squeeze it just to check whether there's any cracks visible. Okay, if your tire is old enough and you squeeze it, you will see that sometimes they actually have all the cracks, because tires are actually rubbers, and rubbers, when they dry up, they become hardened. They harden and they crack easily. So when you do that, you check. If it cracks too bad, just change the tire. You know that it's time you're going to change your tires. Okay, to me, I actually pump my tires every 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, if you don't ride your tire as often, if you don't ride your bike as often as I do, you should also you should actually check and pump it before you ride it. Say you only ride it once a month, so that's the work that you do before you ride it. Just pump it up a little bit. For me, I ride every day. I pump it every 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So that's tire. Next part is about chains. Okay, another moving part, another important part of the bike is the chain. One of the external part that is susceptible to all the weather elements Okay, if you have, especially for us here in Singapore, there's a lot of humidity, there's a lot of rain and sun. So our chain slightly, if your chain may actually get rusted and all that. So to prolong its lifespan, of course, a lot of people know is to keep it oiled and lubricated. Okay, one thing oiling and lubricating will keep the chains very smooth. Okay, it also prevent the rust. So I will show you how I do it, because most people actually forget to do this important step. They always just add on the oil, add on the lubrication, add on whatever grease they have, they add onto the chain, but without doing these key important steps. What I do first is there are actually always sand and dust on the chain, right? So you should actually remove them first before you add any lubrication. So I'm gonna do it here. First of all, I'll just clean it up a little bit, alright? With a dirty, useless cloth, old t-shirt, whatever you can find. Clean it, okay? This is a lazy way, remember, I'm not going to take out the chain, okay? I don't have the time for it. I'm not going to wash it, whatever. I'm just going to wipe away whatever I can on the chain, like hold it and wipe it. I'm not going to spend more than like 5 minutes doing the chain, all this. I don't have that time. So clean it. One more time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Alright, there you go. So we clean it a little bit. See, all these are actually your dirt, whatever dirt, dust, sand, mud that you have on the road. Okay, clean it already. If yours is like mine is actually condition not too bad. I don't have a lot of oil or grease because I always clean it before I oil it. But for those people who actually hardly clean it, you may find that your chain is in a very greasy, very oily, very black. What you should do, you can do, use this WD-40 you can buy in all those convenience store, whatever. Okay, spray and clean it first. Spray. Okay, make sure you use your cloth below, like me. Do it properly. Don't let the WD-40 spray everywhere onto other parts. So just spray here, clean it, move on, clean it. You can apply it very generously because this WD-40 is very cheap, and you only do it like maybe once in a while. Okay, so just spam onto your chain everywhere. Okay, yup. Clean it. After that, clean it one more. That is more to degrease your chain a little bit. Okay, degrease it a little bit. Oh, you see, after I degrease it, it's a little bit still there. More dirt coming out. More of the oil and grease are coming out. When this is done, after you degrease it, then we add a very thin layer of lubricants onto it. Okay, some people uses the Singer oil that you find outside from stores, but Singer oil or machine oil, they are actually quite oily, quite greasy, which I don't like to use them. Okay, I like to use a simple chain oil that they sell this, and you can use it a few times. For me, I can use it for like 3 months at least. So very simply, I'll do it. Just run the chain. I just drip it slowly, bit by bit. Let it drip. 1 drip, 2 drip, drops by drop, and turn the chain slowly. Make sure that it's just let the oil drip onto the rollers. Okay, drip onto the chain rollers, because that's where it's most important, is move, and we want that to be smooth. Yeah. Okay, go 1 round, 2 round, and then that's enough. And sometimes to not make it too excessive, after you actually clean it up, after you have drip it maybe a few rounds, I want to wipe it off a little bit, just the excess oil on the outside, because whatever that needs to go inside to the rollers already been inside. So whatever is outside are all excess, and the excess oils are the one that traps the dust, where all the dust and mud stick onto. Okay, so now we have a very nice chain. Look at my chain, it doesn't actually rust a lot. Also because the chain is of good quality chain to start off with, okay? Right, so the chain is smooth. There you go. That's the most important part of the drive chain system. Okay, now after the chain, the final and one of the most important, or in fact I would say the key safety feature of your bike is actually your brakes. So I would want to maintain my brakes. Okay, every now and then I'll check my bike. Okay, press it hard, push it forward and backward just to see the brakes are working fine. Okay. Now sometimes you hear some screeching sound, means that okay, maybe the pads is actually touching, they're scratching against the rotor. For mine, I use a hydraulic disc brake, simple one, and it actually scratched. So I'm gonna need to adjust it a little bit later, but I want to show you the maintenance part of it, what you should look out for. Okay, I'll take out the brake pads once in a while. I'll just take out the brake pads to just check inside and see how the brake pads are doing, whether they are still in sufficient depth, sufficient thickness for me to go on. Also, I want to check on the rotor, the disc rotor, and make sure that they are not too thin, too dirty, or there's no oil on it, because some oil will give you the screeching sound, because oil prevents it just make it don't break. Okay, it's a very direct and simple thing. It makes all the sense. If you put oil, some people when they hear the screeching sound, they actually gonna apply oil onto the brakes rotors to make the screeching sound go away. But when you have oil on a brake, it just make your brake don't break anymore. Okay, then you will damage your brake pad and damage your rotor, and you're gonna change the whole thing. So never ever add oil onto your brake. What I'll do is just check on the brake pads, check the rotor surface, check the thickness. That's about all. If you use a V-brake, a cable V-brake, check the brake pads, check the brake cable that is not snapping anytime. Okay, there's no breakage that visible to you. If there is, go and change it. It's very cheap. Okay, for mine, it uses a simple hydraulic brake, very old. You see, it uses all these top 4, but it's simple to maintain. So I will open up to check the oil, and I will open up to check the brake pads. For the brakes, I'm just going to open it up to have a better look at the brake pads to see whether I need to change them. Otherwise, I don't do this very often because it's actually, unscrewing the screws is too much work for me. I have no time for that. Okay, I want to spend as little time as possible, so I hardly even touch them unless I find that the braking is actually not so well anymore. It's not very responsive, or the braking distance actually increase, so I will just open up and check just to see the brake pads. Okay, it's fine. Now this is actually still quite thick, considered very thick to me. Okay, sometimes from the outside, from the back, you can actually have a peep. You can peep into it and see. From the back, you can have a good idea of whether it's thick or need to change already. But to have the best view is actually to open it and see it from here without taking it out. Okay, now this is good. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change it. This can last me for another couple of years. Just put it back. I will only open it up when there is a need to, and for the past two years I haven't opened it up. For simple commute purpose, for this kind of brake pads, it's very durable. I don't go to trails, I don't go for speeding, whatever, just my daily commute. These brakes are very durable. And I use the hydraulic brakes, which takes out more work as well. So it means I spend even less time adjusting or tuning it, because hydraulic brakes auto tune themselves. They also closes the gap, and I basically don't have to do anything to it. Just squeeze tight on the levers when you are closing the screws. squeeze your levers and tighten the screws. And when you release your lever, it's good, perfect. Right? Perfect spin, not scratching, not nothing. Now, check the rotor as well at this point. Just take a look at the rotor. And you take a look at the rotor and see, okay, this sort of surface, more shiny surface is actually very normal, as long as it still gives you the brake power that you need. I'm still braking very fine, and the thickness is well. There's no dent or scratch, deep scratches to it. So I'm keeping this should last me for another 1 to 2 years for my kind of usage. If yours is a Shimano, use spec Shimano oil. If yours is Magura, use the Magura Royal Blood. Right, now mine is a top 4. I'm going to use top 4. Just open it up just to check inside. Okay, so inside we see that the level of fluid is actually very low. In fact, it's drying up already for mine. Okay, I haven't refilled it for 2 years. Since I last touched it, it's 2 years ago. I'm going to have to add a little bit of this fluid. Okay, I don't need to use, I'm not going to use a syringe, whatever. Sorry, I've got no time for that. Lazy. I'm very lazy, so I'm just going to drip a few drops onto it with a very steady hand. Never mind if it's dirty, it's okay, I'll clean it up later. Ooh, okay, just 2-3 drops. I'm just going to fill it up a little bit, and then I'm going to burp it a little bit. I'm not going to do a full bleeding. Okay, no time for that. Bleeding, I'll bring it to the shop and let the mechanic do it. Okay, let whoever the mechanic do. I filled it up, just close it before I give it a few squeeze. It should work fine. This is the lazy way, because that's why I choose this type. I think this is the reason why I choose top 4 on the top 5 oil, or this particular setup of hydraulic brake. It's got a top cover I can open up easily and just fill up a few drops of oil and burp it without needing to bleed it so often. Okay, so it's so simple. You see, I just open it up, open the cap, add the oil, and start squeeze it. Oh yes, okay, good. And to test, okay, just test the brake. Yeah, very good. Yeah, done. So with this, you have a perfect, lazy, simple method. Remember the 3 things in mind: your tire, your chain, and your brakes. These are 3 things you want to check, and they are absolutely the most minimum. I don't even call it maintenance. Okay, the minimum thing that you need to keep to your bike so that it serves you so well for longest period of time, and it saves you the most amount of money, time, and effort. Okay, we are lazy, we are busy, we have no time for this. I hope that you have learned these lazy tricks from me on how to keep your daily commute bike at its top condition and be your slave. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned these simple tricks from me. Well, just to let you know, I've ordered some parts from online, and they're coming in arriving in a couple of weeks. Okay, I plan to do some upgrades to this bike that I use every day, and hope to show you what the upgrades that I'm going to do, and you may be able to do it at home as well, and it's going to improve the performance of the bike quite drastically, and the budget is not going to be very high. Right, so stay tuned. I'll see you again. Thank you.